Welcome to the Virginia is for Laughers podcast, brought to you by the funny Womax and Friends. If you're looking to get more out of your Shenandoah Valley experience, then this is the podcast for you. You'll meet interesting people, musicians, and comedians that perform here and find out more about what you can do and see. Whether you live here or plan to visit, listen to explore what makes our unique slice of heaven. Now here's your host, Don Davis Womack.
Hello, laughers. Today we're diving in the world of creativity, innovation, and 3D design with a visionary educator and founder. Meet Andrei Dacko, founder and CEO of JuiceWorks 3D Innovation Academy. After winning a prestigious Lemelson, MIT, and Venteam's STEM project design grant in 2009 alongside his high school students, Andrei was inspired to launch a one-of-a-kind innovation academy to empower the next generation of innovators and entrepreneurs. Through hands-on, human-centered, design-based learning, JuiceWorks 3D is helping students across the Shenandoah Valley tap into their juice and build the digital skills needed for today's tech-driven workforce. Get ready to explore how a classroom project became a movement and how JuiceWorks is changing lives one innovation at a time. Welcome to the show, Andrei. It's great to have you on today.
Thanks so much, Don. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
I am so glad to be here. This is an exciting time. We are definitely out of my element in this kind of shop, so I'm super excited to hear about your story and learn what you're doing here and share that with our laughers. But first, laughers, I want to share with you that we are part of the Audible Creator Program, which means for you that you can get a free audio book when you hit the link in our show notes and when you sign up for a free trial with Audible. Then we do get a little kickback, but it helps us with this show to provide more amazing content for you. So thank you for listening and thank you for joining us today, laughers. Andrei, I want to start with, what is your educational background and path that has led you to do what you're doing here today and open up JuiceWorks 3D?
Yeah, no, thanks. That's a great question, Don. It started in first grade when my teacher tied me to my chair.
What?
Yes, I wasn't learning the way she wanted me to learn. I'm a very independent learner. I require focus, and to learn best, I need to be in a quiet place, removed from the noise of others. So as I decided to move to the back of the classroom on my own volition, she decided that I was being disobedient and pulled me in and tied me to my chair. So that started the journey, which today is all based on how do we create learning environments that are geared to help students realize their full potential and learn in a way that sees them in what I refer to as a state of flow, this state of being in the zone. And frankly, my journey and through education, I have 3 degrees, 2 undergrads and a master's, was very tough because that type of very constrained, memorization-centered learning was very far left of who I am as an individual and how I prefer to learn, which is in a hands-on format. So as part of my journey, ironically, I ended up after receiving a Bachelor of Science degree. I'm originally from Canada, from the University of Guelph. I decided that I was going to become an educator. So ended up completing a Bachelor of Education and then moved right into the classroom. I'll save the rest for later, but that's kind of the journey there.
What brought you to America then?
Well, I was bitten by the travel bug at the time. I had done some extensive international travel, and I wanted to try working abroad. And I joined a program called the Visiting International Faculty Program, which brings teachers from around the world to underserved schools in the U.S.
Really?
Yep. So that program, which was supposed to see me go to California, but after being told that there was no longer a California option, I asked, what is the next best thing? And they said, Newport News, Virginia. And I said, well, that's the wrong coast. But anyway, I ended up accepting and taught there at an underserved school. Michael Vick's former alma mater. He's a former NFL player. Yeah.
Fun fact,
So
Laffers.
yeah, did that. And I was ready to leave after my first year because it was a complete nightmare. Fights in the hallways and 6 security guards. And I said, where did I land? And I felt so bad for these kids because I could tell, as I experienced, they were not enabled to learn in a way that was best for them. Hence all of this, misbehavior. But I decided I wanted to go back to Toronto. So I went to a going away picnic for departing teachers at Virginia Beach. Even though I wasn't going to go, my friend convinced me to go, and I met my now wife, and the rest is history. So.
Good thing you went.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
And what was your degree in the Bachelor of Science?
So it's a Bachelor of Science in Biomechanics.
Okay.
So study of human motion. So that was then once I completed that, I went back. I thought I was going to be either a chiropractor, a physical therapist, or an educator. So I worked in those fields as a certified kinesiologist.
Yeah.
And then decided that I didn't want to work with cranky patients. So I instead decided to work with cranky students.
Yeah, and then you ended up in Hopewell, Virginia.
I did, yeah. So my first 2 years teaching were in the Toronto area, and then spent another 2 years teaching at Warwick High School in Newport News as part of that program, and realized at that point that, and that was right around, the .com boom. These kids were exposed to, they now had access to Google, and they could Google most anything, very much like where we are with Chat GPT today. And I thought to myself, what business do we have teaching students to memorize facts when they can just Google those facts?
Right. That is the...
What's the point of my role as an educator? So I ended up getting to a point where I started looking for better models of learning for students. So that saw me move to Richmond, where my fiance at the time, my now wife, was living, and I started a robotics program as part of the first robotics league, and that was kind of the first inkling that led me to realize that these hands-on applied methods of learning, where there's a tie-in to real-world outcomes. If you think of robotics, it was part of a competition-style team we created. And when you think about the application to robotics and the potential, these students got it right away. And some of those very same students that were on that after-school robotics team were also the same students that were not thriving in the regular classroom during the school day, that saw them memorizing facts that they could Google search. And that's when I finally hit on, this thought that, man, we should be spending the entire day doing what we're only doing after school. Quite ironic. And that then led to my moving. I actually ended up moving into manufacturing. So that was the end of 5 years of teaching in 2 different countries and 3 different schools. And I said, if I really have any business teaching students, I should get some grounding in the real world. And I'm a big technologist, tech freak. So I found the most tech-heavy position that I could, which was working in a fully automated computer chip manufacturing company in Richmond, Virginia at the time. So I left teaching, went into manufacturing, and boy, was that an amazing world. Everything was going on its own. The entire factory was fully automated. Software developers, engineers, was working with a lot of really, really smart people. And I, at that point, realized, wow, if we ran education in line with the real world demands of manufacturing and other real world applications, and furthermore, if we ran it as efficiently as this factory runs, boy, could we really be making a difference in the lives of kids. So I had no aspirations to go back to teaching, but the factory shut down in 2008 when the Great Recession hit. And the only position that I could find after that was
a teaching position. Okay.
But at that point, I said to myself, if I'm going to go back to teaching, I'm not going to go back to the regular core subject classroom. I'm going to teach a real world elective, which ended up being engineering. So I ended up coming in as what is called a career and technical education teacher, a CTE teacher, teaching engineering, which was an elective subject. And that opened the floodgates for coming up with new models of experiential learning for students. I took that robotics experience that I had with my prior students, I pulled that into the classroom, brought in 3D printing, brought in milling, brought in programming, and these kids were eating it up. We then ended up applying for this for a grant, the Lemelson MIT Invent Teams grant that you mentioned, with one simple question to the students: would you like to invent something? And nobody had ever asked them that before. How sad is that? Would you like to use your creativity to make a difference in the world with a product? And the answer was an overwhelming, well, if you think we can, absolutely. And I said, boy, do I think you can. So that belief in these students, and these were students from a 95% free and reduced lunch school, right? Largely African-American, with not much opportunity, these kids coming in. Their lives outside of school were much more difficult than their lives inside of school. So we were providing them with an opportunity, in spite of their circumstances, to succeed. And that's where I really started, experiencing the power of this type of learning. And we ended up being one of 6. So we applied among 362 schools across the country for this MIT grant.
Okay.
And Little Hopewell High School received the grant. We were one of only 65 schools across the country that got it.
That's
so we got
amazing.
$10,000 to create a new version of the student desk. And that project and their work was such a success that when we showcased it at MIT, we had a filmmaker approach us and tell us that he would like to create a movie about the incredible work that everybody did together. And that was an effort that was not just students and teachers. That was an effort between community members, engineers in the community, fabrication shops in the community. A true collective. Again, another aspect to what we need to do to really elevate education for these kids. And what they got out of that 8 months is still with them today. And probably, last I spoke to some of those students, they ended up going into engineering. That's how impactful this experience was.
Yeah, Laughers, I want to point you to that short film. It's Inventeens, and we'll put that link in the show notes for you as well, because I watched it. It was so insane. It's choking me up. It was
well,
so
thanks for watching it. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it was so inspiring. And these students that you worked with and challenging them to think and grow and innovate.
Yeah.
They shared the story about the first step was throwing out all their ideas out there. And a couple of them that I remember was one student thought about a pillow.
That's right, temperature-controlled pillow, yes.
Which it would be warm in the winter and cool off in the summer. I thought that was an innovative idea. I also enjoyed the idea of the dog door, that it would open and close by verbal
voice
command.
Yeah,
those were just really incredible ideas.
Yeah. No, giving them the opportunity to ideate like that is a big part of that innovation process that today we teach. But it was this experience with these students that really turned on the light bulb for me when it comes to the power of providing students an opportunity to engage in what effectively is the design process, and a process that allows them to go from a blank slate, just an idea, as you said, about a problem they wish to solve, and taking that from concept to functional creation, which is the essence of what we as a country, right, do in some of the most cutting edge companies. But unfortunately, in school, the opportunities to do that are very, very limited. So at that point, I said, one day I'm going to have a space where I can bring students and adults as well in to engage in this creative design process and learn how to innovate.
That also leads me to another question, because I'm wondering how what you did with those students translates to what you're doing here now at JuiceWorks 3D, is that they had a lot of ideas. So what what went into deciding it was going to be the desk and chair? Like, why that idea over the other ideas?
Yeah, so we actually took a scientific approach to that, and we created what's called the Pew Matrix that saw us seeing a set of criteria that we then evaluated against, including our ability to complete the project, the funding that we had for the project, our knowledge and understanding of the processes required to bring this idea to life. So when we evaluated against those criteria, the student desk came out on top as the most doable in the time that we got.
With the money and resources you had.
That we had, yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so does that decision process come into play, or how does that decision process come into play here practically?
Yeah. So what is here, right? We're sitting here at the Innovation Academy, the JuiceWorks 3D Innovation Academy, and it is this special, creative, safe space for creatives, for aspiring innovators, be it kids or adults, to come in and learn what it means to innovate, because innovation just doesn't happen, right? There's a process that we have to understand. I mentioned the design process earlier is a big part of that. There's also a skill set, a hard skill set that comes with that across a variety of applications, from 3D printing to game design, if that's what you're designing.
Oh, you can do game design here?
We do game design as well, yeah.
That's exciting.
Milling, which is the reverse of 3D printing, where you're removing material, you're carving into a stock material instead of adding layers like 3D printing, and then also robotics and automation. So these innovators, these aspiring innovators, come in typically with a desire not just to innovate, but to innovate with something in particular. And for the most part, 3D printing and game design are our most popular applications, what we call our technology tracks. Okay. And we progress them through those, and they build their skill sets and their confidence, and they engage with mentors and our coaches, and really providing a community where they can feel comfortable being themselves. But I want to tie something in that referred to an earlier question that you asked about, my educational journey. I didn't find out until about a year and a half ago that I have this thing called ADHD.
Okay.
And I'm hitting 50. So laughers, if we can laugh about something, that might be it. But speaking of laughing, there were many instances in my formative years where I was literally laughed at because of my different way of thinking. And at the time, I didn't realize that different way of thinking, or maybe I did, that different way of thinking, but nobody told me what it was called. But that different way of thinking was 100% related to the fact that I am an innovator as well. I'm a creative. I love to design and to envision and to solve problems and to make with my hands. And a lot of that thinking is unique to our tribe. And when you're a kid talking about a lot of this, the majority of the kids out there,
what are you talking about?
This guy's
from
crazy.
Another
He's
planet.
a goofball, right? I mean, we can come up with a whole monologue about what what it entailed. But that trauma for me played a very critical role in recognizing and getting to a point in my own life that there is a special kind of brain that lends itself to innovation and entrepreneurship and small business. And when you look into the data, the majority of entrepreneurs out there, and I'm not self-diagnosing anybody here, but the majority of entrepreneurs out there have ADHD or some aspect of neurodivergence.
That's right.
So when you look at our clientele, when I say we create a safe space for innovators, as it turns out, we also create a safe space for those that think differently. Right? Hence neurodivergence. And not everybody that comes in is on the neurodivergent spectrum, but the majority are. So funny how that worked out.
It is funny how that worked out. And we're getting a lot more information and knowledge about that way of thinking than we had when at our age when we were children, for sure, which is helpful.
Super glad that that's the case.
Yeah.
But they're still struggling, because if you look at how the public education system is set up, be it K-12 or higher ed, both of which I've taught in, it is still not changed enough to be able to enable those learners in particular to really maximize their potential, which is why you see a lot of the disengagement and a lot of the stress and the anxiety and the churn and the dropout rates. So we're doing what we can to put a small dent, not only in reaching particularly those that are much younger, down to 8 years old. We teach these innovation skills to kids as young as 8, because we believe firmly that we need, as a society, to start exposing people, our learners, at a much younger age, so that they then can be informed about the opportunities that exist with these skills. But we're not only doing that, we're also providing an opportunity for learners to come to a space that enables them to learn the way they love to learn. These are the same kids, just like I was, that are chastised, that are bullied, right? So yeah.
I think that's really wonderful to start teaching them younger and younger, because it'll activate the pathways in their brain that are associated with creativity and innovation. And, a lot of people know that my son ended up playing in the NFL, and athletes are talented, that they do the practice and repeat the patterns so that when the actual game comes, their body just automatically responds matched with the talent level that they have. So similarly, I would see that in intelligence and within this type of skill set with STEM would come into play too. It's the repeated patterns that make you better.
Yeah, absolutely. And also to solve such a big issue that we're seeing today, our employers, particularly in areas like manufacturing, engineering, and other STEM industries are, and it's not just that industry alone. I mean, every one of our employers today are experiencing a talent pipeline shortage. But when it comes to these tech-heavy skill sets, these tech-heavy industries, even more so.
Really?
Absolutely. So, we really need to invest in our future talent pipeline. And that's also a huge component of where we see our role in our community, particularly in this rural Shenandoah Valley community, providing these students an option and an understanding of the options that exist that they otherwise would not. And I mean, even farming is changing, right? With automation. So if you don't have kids that understand how to automate, how to program, and be familiar with technology, we're done. So I hope that one day I'll be able to sleep soundly when I think about the impact that we've made on the Valley's future talent pipeline.
I love that. Also, I love that the word juice in your business actually means something.
Yes, it does. and to our detriment in many cases, because people often come in and ask or see my
Can I have some orange juice?
Right. Do you guys press juice? And I'm like, no, I apologize for your completely uncreative and completely convergent brain. But in our world, juice refers to the creative juices that flow in every single one of us, and combined with works, right? That bridge that we provide between enabling them between their creativity and ultimately the works that they end up learning to create using these 3D technologies that we bring here and provide them with experience in. So.
Yeah, that's what you call it, juice.
Thank you. Oh, this means so much, Don.
You're so welcome.
I've been traumatized terribly by all the simple-minded folk out there that think all we do is make juice. So.
Yeah, that's funny. But also each letter in juice corresponds to one of your core values.
To our core values, yeah.
Which I thought was very interesting too. You have it listed on the website. It's really amazing.
Yeah, thanks. Now you're going to ask me to regurgitate all 5 of those.
No, that's why I mentioned it was on the website.
It's on the website.
So I wouldn't put you on the spot.
But no, it's those core values play a huge role in the type of innovator that we seek to develop. So yeah, I invite everybody to head out to the website and check those
all
out.
That. Yeah. And you do 3 under JuiceWorks. You do 3 main things. You have classes and a club
and summer
and
camps.
Summer camp.
Yep.
Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we offer 3 primary programs, summer camps being our most popular. These are 1-week camps that run from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. across all 4 of our technology tracks, whether it be robotics, game design, 3D printing, or CNC milling. We offer them as kind of a hybrid where in the morning they do 1 track, in the afternoon they do another, and that's repeated through the entire week. So they get 2 for the price of 1, essentially.
That's nice.
And that tends to be the first touch point for most of our aspiring innovators. So those summer camps are geared specifically to kids between 8 and 13 years old. And that's typically the first time that they dip a toe in the JuiceWorks 3D waters and figure out whether this is something for them or not. If it turns out to be something that they're jazzed about and they want to keep going with, that's where our second program comes in, which is called Club. Club is a monthly membership that allows any aspiring innovator, be it kids or adults, to come in and learn how to innovate across any of our technologies, either 4 hours a month or 8 hours a month, depending on which membership suits your budget and your schedule. And they come in typically once a week for either 1 hour or 2 hours for 4 weeks in the month to learn in a very relaxed, self-paced setting. Our coaches are there. We've got mentors from the local university, James Madison University. Their engineering students come in and help, with a variety of things. So that's Club. And then, of course, we also offer private classes. We see largely adults engaging in those. We just had a pharmacist, incredible maker, but a pharmacist by day. She really wanted to learn how to 3D print. So we offer those as 6-hour private classes. We split that out into 2 3-hour sessions. And this woman came in not knowing anything about 3D printing, and she left having designed and 3D printed her own product that's going to help the pharmacists at her locations.
That's great.
Be able to better dispense these annoying stickers that kept falling off the rolls. So just seeing that change in 6 hours. So those are our private classes that mostly adults tend to take. But of course, those are available for younger folks as well.
What is the oldest student you have seen come through here?
So we just opened our doors in February 2024, which, because we were mobile before that, to kids only. So when we opened our doors here at this space in February 2024, that was the first time that we opened it up to adults through that club and private classes.
Okay.
So I would say, yes, Bob and Mary McIntyre. God bless them.
Bob and Mary are getting a shout out.
Bob and Mary are getting a shout out. They run an incredible jewelry business down in Stuart Strath, Virginia, and they make their own jewelry. But they wanted to understand, and they were. Bob and Mary, I apologize. I don't want to get this wrong, but I would say they were in their 70s, absolutely. Okay. And boy, did they do an amazing job.
Really? That's amazing. Well, they make jewelry, so they have some experience making things for sure.
But one thing they didn't have much experience with is working that mouse that we need to use when we design. Poor Bob, this guy Mary was better, but boy, we had to work with Bob. So, and
the mouses are squirrely, Bob. It's okay.
But, that's one of the other things that I think really reflects, the way we roll here is very inclusive. Regardless of age, we firmly believe that anybody can learn how to innovate. So, yeah.
I am curious about this mobile academy.
Oh, yeah.
because this is a big shift. Now you have a brick and mortar spot. But this mobile academy, where in the timeline did we start that in your path?
Yeah, so I ran a pilot with over 200 fifth graders in Stanton, Augusta, and Waynesboro with their public schools. I stuffed everything in the van and asked them if they would be kind enough to let me run a free after-school program.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And they said, of course, yes.
It was free.
It was free. But I needed to figure out whether there was some meat on the bone here with regard
with
to
your ideas.
With the idea. Yeah.
Got it.
And that provided me an amazing opportunity to not only prove out that concept and prove out the demand, but also prove out that there's a lot of interest in this, but also allowed me to work on the curriculum that I created as well. I created all the curriculum myself for these tracks, with the exception of our latest game design curriculum, which one of our amazing coaches created. Shout out to Tyler Humphreys, who's no longer with us. So did that, and at that point, I was convinced that we had a sticky service here, and then COVID hit. Just after I made my first capital investment for the robotic arms that I was going to use that summer in 2020. So that was a sign that, the world wasn't ready for us yet. But once COVID started lifting in spring of 2021, I was able to partner with JMU Youth Programs to bring our programming to some early spring after school programs. So I just loaded the van with laptops and robotic arms and the curriculum and the materials that we used together with all of that. And started doing that. And then once we made enough money to buy into our 3D printers, did that. And then once we made enough money with those summer camps and after school programs to buy our mills, we did that. So it was just kind of this evolution over about 2.5 years. So from spring 2021 to December of 2023, just as I was going all in on moving into this physical brick and mortar space. So as it stands today, after that 2.5-2-ish years of mobile, we still do mobile. We're actually...
Oh, really?
Yep. So
you have a van still?
Still got the van. It's got the JuiceWorks insignia plastered all over it to the dislike of my kids, who are embarrassed to be seen in the juice van. But best money I spent. Oh, yes, they are. And boy, I even had I originally had the decals all over the back windows too, and they kept complaining how they couldn't see a darn thing out of it. So I ended up ripping the window decals off. But so for example, this summer we're running 7 camps here at our space, but we will be running 3 camps with one of our learning center partners down at William Perry Elementary School with Waynesboro Public Schools. We still do some mobile as well.
So you carry all the things you're gonna use, and then you get them from the van into a classroom.
Yep, just like you did today, Don, with all your paraphernalia.
I did. I have a cart, so I guess you have a cart too.
We have our friendly cart. So
I didn't always have the cart, Laughers. It's to heave-ho all that stuff. One day I'll get a team that will do it for me.
There you go. Well,
I hate
to rain on your parade, but or maybe you're better at getting that team together. Although I had I had a great team last summer. That was really the full summer that we ran with an incredible team. And the summer before that, I hired one coach. So we're slowly getting there. Rome wasn't built in a day, and I'll have a few more coaches this year to help with the heaving and the instruction. But
What you mentioned the invention that the pharmacist came up with. What are some other very fascinating, innovative ideas that come to mind that you've seen people come up with and create?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have one club member, Vivian. She's been with us for a little while. She's an incredible innovator. And most recently, she created a special stand for her Lego flower pots, those little Lego plants, little Lego flower pots with plants, because she had few of these strewn on her dresser, and she decided she wanted to design and 3D print something that would hold those pots in a display. And boy, did she knock it out of the park. I mean, this girl, she measured everything out. She modeled everything on the computer and then sent it to the 3D printer. And after a few iterations, she got it just right. So that was one that I remember most recently. We also have a young man named Zachary, who's a club member as well. He's been with us for almost a year now, and he's 12 years. I believe he's 12. He runs his own 3D printing business. He's got his own
12-year-old entrepreneur.
Yep, absolutely. He sells his prints at different venues around town, and
that is amazing.
Yeah, no, we really have some superheroes in here, and that's what you get, right? I spoke earlier to this state of flow, this state of being in your zone, and when you're in your zone, there is no ceiling. Right? There is no ceiling because you're doing what you love doing. You're hyper-focused. But Zachary's created, actually, if you look across the room, there's a fluorescent yellow hook attached to the wall that's holding one of our project pouches, his project pouch, actually. And he designed that hook to mount to the wall and hold that pouch. And he's designed a few other little things that have been quite, he's designed a shelf bracket and a few other odds and ends.
He's brilliant.
Yeah, we've got, and that's a common thread between I would say all of our aspiring innovators. They're just super smart people, whether it's kids or adults, and all they need is the right environment to facilitate reaching, and doing things that they probably never imagined that they could.
I think this is a great segue into this next question is, can you describe your human-centered, design-based digital making approach, quote unquote?
Yeah. No, I mean, at the center of all incredible creation are the human beings, right? That leverage their innate strengths and their innate abilities, their aptitudes to collectively, not in a vacuum, to collectively create. Right? So that's exactly what we mean by human-centered. We are not herding cattle through turnstiles. Dare I say, like the public education system I used to teach in does. Treating everybody the same. And they'll talk about differentiated learning
SOLs,
and this and that, right? But at the end of the day, the common goal is very different from our common goal. Our common goal is to teach people how to create using 3D technologies. And in so doing, right, with no basis in grades, no basis in a lot of these things that make you shut down, particularly as a neurodivergent creative, but instead, right, let your work and the work that you collectively do amongst your peers speak for itself, right? I mean, that is the ultimate learning outcome, is the evidence of your learning, not just some baseless number, right? But the things that we create, because when we become adults, right, isn't our value measured by what it is that we create. Right? So that human-centered piece also very much includes a treatment of helping, especially our young innovators, discover their superpowers. So I created an exercise called Virtues, and that is a very short but effective sticker-based exercise that sees them first creating their own custom avatar to represent them.
Sticker-based, like an actual sticker?
Actual stickers.
I wanted to clarify. Okay, great.
Sticker-based. So they get a card, a 4x6 card, which has something printed on it, and they create their own custom avatar to represent them, and then they go through looking through these 4 different sets of cards that each list a set of 6 virtues. So communicator, analyzer, organizer, wooer, right? Like winning others over, and so on and so forth. Now, we don't use woo because that's a trademark term by StrengthsFinder, but there's another one that we use similar to that. But nonetheless, it's an exercise that allows them and allows us to really not only help them call out and self-ascribe their top 4 superpowers, but it also helps their peers understand one another's strengths, right? So that instead of just introducing one another by name or tell me what you did this summer, right? In less than 10 minutes, we have a snapshot of what really makes these innovators special. What is their value add as a human being? And from there, oh my gosh, it's just gravy after that, right? Because we've broken down what normally is a very awkward getting to know one another, and instead frame it as, hey, this is what makes me who I am.
And makes me special and unique.
And just let's leverage the snot out of it, right? To help them do the amazing work that they do. And even more so, help one another in those areas that they're weakest. So we don't focus on, oh, you need to do better and such. No, you need to find your who that can help you make up for those areas that you're not as strong in, just like you're going to help that person in those areas that you're strong in, right? Yeah. Exactly. So that's the basis of human-centered design, and also, focusing on design in a way that is empathetic, right?
I like that a lot.
Others, right? So I'm not just designing a thing. I'm designing something that's going to help a human being or a living animal, right? or typically those are the two, right? Do something better, overcome an obstacle. So in order to do that well, we need to have that empathy. We need to understand what that state is that this solution I'm looking to build is going to solve. So I'm digressing a little bit, but hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, and that brings to mind, when you're doing that, then is part of it to help in the summer camps or in the classes toward project work and working together? Is that part of it? Okay,
Absolutely.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
So that was what was coming to mind.
These are, for our summer camps and even during club, we typically see 6 to 12 students in our space at any one time.
Okay.
Even if we go mobile, right? Our cap is 12, and that's based on safety and quality of instruction and quality of experience. But when you put 12, 8 to 13-year-olds in a room with no basis for what makes them special, it can get pretty ugly pretty fast. And in my experience as a public school educator, as a university educator, I've seen it get ugly real fast in other people's classrooms that don't understand the value of focusing on the human beings in front of you first before you jump into the curriculum. Everybody's in such a rush to jump into the curriculum. Why don't we spend at least one day unpacking who these amazing human beings are in front of you
and connect with them,
on that level, so that we can then leverage each of their individual strengths to do amazing things. And that's why we do this virtues exercise on the first day of camp with all of our campers, so that the rest of the week is just based on leveraging each other's strengths and having broken down the barriers to the awkwardness that is that initial introduction without any other context. Right. And some of these kids, we learn more from them in that one day or that week of camp than most people learn about them in 6 months. Just by a simple act that's human-centered. So in those 12 students come together in ways in that week of camp that you would not believe. But it's a beautiful thing. And we have no behavior issues. I kid you not.
That's wonderful.
No behavior issues.
Yeah.
Because these are human beings that feel, welcome and empowered based on their strengths and their contributions that they make with those strengths in camp. So
that, and they're moving into a fun and challenging environment.
They get the connection. It's real
and they
world
get to
application.
Learn. Yeah.
It's funny because I often say we trick them into learning. Right. So,
I can see a lot of youth being very attracted to what you offer here.
Thank you.
How do you find them?
It's been a challenge, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Boy, could I use a marketing person, or should I say, it'd be nice to afford a marketing person, right? But I tell you what, our community has been absolutely incredible. We are starting to see referrals come in now because we've been doing it for enough to where we're starting to see those referrals from other parents. Our Google reviews,
they're wonderful, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Those have helped tremendously. We're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, largely, and those stories that we share through the narrative on social media has been very helpful. And then, of course, engagement and invitation from local school systems and student-facing groups to come and just be present with a table showing what it is that we do. We bring a 3D printer, we bring a robotic arm that sees kids picking candy out of a bowl with the robot.
Yeah,
and
that's fun.
Those are some of the ways that we've been really blessed to engage with our community to make them aware of what it is that we do.
Well, let's say there is a youth or a young person and or a parent watching, and that potential student might feel a little bit intimidated by walking in here for the first time.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person, that young person and or parent?
First, I'd say it's totally normal. And it's difficult. It's very difficult, especially, for some of our students that are on the autistic spectrum.
Yes, I was thinking about them.
Yep. And the way we lower that barrier is by encouraging them to come in at a time that's not a busy club hour.
Maybe
just to
observe
set up a one-on-one, or they can just come in and observe during club, or they can jump in if they feel comfortable. But normally so if you visit our website, we have a sign up for your free 1 hour session of club, and they can come in and schedule that. Just come for an hour and just meet us, see the place, just get a feel for what it is that we do in here. And that often results in some fantastic dialogue. And, after that, it's just a matter of thinking through whether this is the right opportunity for you or for your child. And often it ends up being so. So, it's those are probably the two ways that we bring folks in to get an idea of what it is that we do.
That's great. Also, too, before we recorded today, you were sharing that you had some surprise to you new adventures that have come out of you putting this JuiceWorks 3D Innovation Academy together. So can you share with the laughers?
Yeah.
What happened? Because it's a new adventure for you alongside what's happening here.
Yeah, it sure is. As anxiety-ridden and hair-raising as it was to commit to a brick and mortar. I mean,
yes.
I'm sure there's many laughers out there that can understand where I'm coming from regarding committing to a brick and mortar. Yeah. I felt in my heart that a brick and mortar would provide a home for us to engage in a much more special way with our community and yield opportunities that I never would have dreamt of, opportunities and conversations, and it has absolutely done that. And we just opened in February 2024. It's only been just over a year, right?
Yeah, a little over a year.
And some of the conversations that we've had with folks that have just strolled in and said, hey, I saw your 3D out there, have been absolutely incredible. And as part of that, toward the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, we started having people come in asking if we could 3D print things for them, if we could help them reverse engineer and 3D print a product that they can't find a replacement for, typically plastic products like, brackets for a shelving unit, or I had one lady just reach out about this plastic piece for a special light that she's had since 1970, but she can't find a replacement piece. Yeah. And then we've also had people come in asking if we can help them bring a product idea to life through a prototype. And I love doing that stuff. And several of my network really enjoy doing that stuff. And I thought to myself, this is a sign that our community needs this support. And we have to lean into this. So because I didn't want the product design and manufacturing side to be I didn't want the education side, to be a catch-all, including the product design and manufacturing side. I decided that it was time for us to split out a new line of business, which is called Shenandoah Innovation. And that's exactly what we do. We handle product design and manufacturing, largely 3D printing, milling, laser cutting, for people that have a product that they need help bringing to life, or an idea that they want to need help designing and bringing to life, or simply just 3D printing something. So yeah, Shenandoah Innovation has been born out of that just a month ago.
That's incredible.
And it's getting very busy.
What does that process look like? So someone needs help with a product. They reach out to you. Will put that information in the show notes, by the way, also.
Yeah,
First, so don't worry about that. We'll get that taken care of. But how does that process look? I'm interested in having something made. I don't know if that can happen.
Yep.
So what happens next?
It typically starts with a phone call, email, or walking into the space.
All right.
And telling us what it is that's on your mind, what it is that you need help with. Then we'll sit down with you for, roughly, 30, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, really getting a good sense of what your needs are. And then once we agree that this is something that we can absolutely help you with, we then go back as a team and work on pulling together what it is that we need to in order to provide a quote, and then we push that quote out to you. And if you're good with it, then we begin the job. And if you look at the Shenandoah Innovation website, we pride ourselves in being fast and fluid. So we're able to turn around that work relatively quickly for folks. So yeah, that's pretty much the process. And of course, we ask that you send us a photo or video of your thing in the wild, in use, because it's, again, no fun designing in a vacuum.
So once it's completed,
we want to see how you're using it, and it's a really important process. Part of the process for us, because that's what warms our hearts the most.
Yeah. I know it's only been a month. But for that part of your adventure, your life adventure, but what would you say is the most interesting request you've had so far? Or that comes to mind. I know, it's always in the moment afterwards. You might be like, I should have thought of.
We had a woman come in with an antique cookie cutter.
Wow.
From, I don't know when it's from, probably the 60s. And it's a rabbit, shaped like a rabbit.
Yeah.
And she said, I can't find this cookie cutter anywhere. Can you 3D print me a cookie cutter that looks exactly like this rabbit? Because this rabbit apparently holds some serious sentimental value for her and her family.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the most recent fun project that's walked through the door. But I will say, there's another one that we did, which probably takes the cake. We ended up having to remake an ear for a brass bust of a deer that hung on the wall at an interior design shop for Hans Klein here in town. And the guy had like this super expensive brass deer bust that he was selling, and in moving, the ear broke off, and he came to us asking if we can bring the ear back to life. And the team did an amazing job. We had to do some 3D scanning, and we had to do some modeling, and some 3D printing, and then some epoxy to glue that ear on, and then spray painted it gold to match the brass, and this thing came out great.
Really?
And that deer's name was Frankie. So I would say that Frankie is probably the most unique and hilarious project that we've done.
How about you personally? What have some of the things that you've made that you're really proud of, or are very memorable to you.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing that I'm most proud of and that's most memorable is the underground house that I designed when I was about 8 years old.
Underground house?
Yes. Oh, I didn't
I am glad I asked this question. I'm so intrigued.
I didn't actually make the house, but I designed it on paper. And to this day, I just keep beating myself up for not keeping and framing that piece of paper. But no, most recently, I designed a bike, a multi-purpose holder for the garage to hold bikes or baseball bats or scooters. So I designed that from the ground up. That was a lot of fun. Still have one mounted on my garage wall. So that was pretty neat. And then there was another project that saw me designing a corkscrew wind spinner. I don't know if you guys remember 70s or 80s, you used to be able to buy these plastic corkscrew looking things that you could hang up in your tree and they would spin like a corkscrew in a spiral. They don't sell those anymore. They don't make those anymore. So I actually was, I redesigned that from the ground up and had a lot of fun with that. So.
Do you have a shop at home too, or do you come here to do these things?
My shop started at home, but now I have this shop, so I don't have to do it at home. And now one of my boys is using my old shop as his game room, so you know how that goes.
Was the wife happy that the shop moved out?
She was probably happy. When I started JuiceWorks 3D Innovation Academy, I had all of my equipment in that shop in the basement, and boy, did it ever take up a lot. That's when I knew I needed to move out and have a space here. But I just want to go back quickly to the incredible fusion that is the JuiceWorks 3D Innovation Academy and Shenandoah Innovation. It's very rare to find a place that affords innovators the opportunity to move along a pathway that sees them first learning these skills and then have the opportunity to intern into a real world product design and manufacturing operation. And that's the other beautiful thing that Shenandoah Innovation does under this very same roof. It allows our aspiring innovators that attend the Innovation Academy to literally experience everything that we are designing and making for our clients at Shenandoah Innovation. And they're absorbing by osmosis. And then later down the line, when we get them to a point where we are confident that they are able to contribute in some small or large way on those projects, we absolutely plan on bringing them in, having them come in as interns, and hopefully become employed with us as well. So as much as I speak about us being a talent pipeline development engine for the tech workforce in our community, what better opportunity is there than to prove that out on your own stage? So I'm super excited to see the opportunities that Shenandoah Innovation will provide our current young aspiring innovators.
I definitely appreciate that. We teach comedy classes here in the area, and that can be a bucket list for a lot of people, or they will take it and would like to get involved behind the scenes, not on stage necessarily. And then there are a handful of students that figure out how to do it and have some talent, and then we're able to put them on our comedy shows to help them continue in their journey. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. So it sounds like you're setting up something.
We're cut from the same cloth, Dawn. We're developing talent, and then we're also enabling that talent to contribute in their meaningful way. And
that's right.
And I think that's kind of what brings us together here today is this spirit of pouring into others to then eventually see them move on to do amazing things. And laughers, I got to tell you, I've been at some of the Funny Womack shows, and I'm preaching to the choir here, but they are fantastic. So thanks for providing me with moments of of laughter when I need it after crazy busy days here. So
yeah, it's like an internal joke for us, but he was recently at a show at the new comedy club at Massanutten Resort.
That's right.
With his wife, and there's just striking, attractive, middle-aged couple.
Oh, stop it.
And I couldn't help myself but call him out as the other sexy middle-aged couple.
Right. Yeah. No. My wife was glowing on the way home. So
it's true, though.
You made her night.
There's truth in comedy.
Yeah.
And Andrei.
Thanks, I appreciate
Speaking of which, I want to talk about your name just a little bit.
Sure.
So
Okay.
Andrei is
Who would've
spelled
thought?
different, and Dacko.
Yes.
What origin? Where does this come from? So you're Canadian.
Yeah. So I'm
Canadian born?
So I'm Canadian born.
Okay.
I'm a first generation Canadian.
Okay.
Proud to have dual citizenship. So I'm
wonderful.
now an American citizen and a Canadian citizen. So I've got the best of both worlds,
Yeah.
which is a special place to be. But yeah, so my parents and their parents were immigrants, and their parents immigrated from Ukraine. So my name is Ukrainian by ethnicity. And I actually spoke Ukrainian before I spoke English when I grew up. So, of course, that's where I failed as a father, because I didn't do nearly as good a job with my own kids on that front. But yeah, so it's Ukrainian, Andrei, so Andrei, and then Dacko. Kind of sounds like wacko, except Dacko. But yeah, so that's the origin of that.
That's the way to remember it, too.
Absolutely.
They're going to come in here, somebody, and go, where's Wacko Dacko?
Oh, believe me, I've gotten it for years, whether it be from my school students or the Innovation Academy students. But you got to have a little bit of fun, right?
Yeah, it's interesting they chose Canada versus America. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, well,
or do you know?
I don't know the exact reason,
I'm just
to be
curious.
honest with you. But I wish I had found out.
But it's great nonetheless, because now you're here. I think this is an incredible opportunity for youth to adults in our area. Also, before we get out of here, I want to have you share with people where you are located, because there are other creatives that are in this space.
Yeah, we're in this amazing space at 1157 South High Street. We affectionately refer to them as the shops at 1157. And under this roof, it used to be an old furniture warehouse, for those of you that might recall. So while there is no longer any sale of furniture here, there is some incredible creativity going on under this roof. So in addition to the Innovation Academy and Shenandoah Innovation, we also have Valley Creative Reuse, which is just an amazing place to come and buy upcycled items, fabrics, doodads, bits and bobs that you can use for creative projects. We also have Friendly City Clay Studio, which do an amazing job with their clay classes, where you can learn how to throw clay and do all kinds of neat stuff with clay. And then we also have a filmmaker in the building. So again, another creative individual, an award-winning filmmaker. A lot of his movies you can see on Netflix. And then we also have another creative, which is Beck Builders and Green Hill Solar. So they're a construction company, lots of creativity involved in that. And then Kiki Scott does Embracing Fire Design. So she's super creative and does Embracing Fire Design. She does a lot of T-shirts and apparel, and gift items and things like that. And I think that's just about everybody. Yeah. So come on by to shops at 1157.
That's right.
And,
I just saw a knitting group on my way.
Yes,
in here
they
today
sit out
too.
my window every Thursday morning and chit-chat away while they're knitting. But the building itself is just such a beautiful building, incredible natural light spilling into all of the spaces.
I was going to say lots of light,
Lots of light, lots of windows as a result, or vice versa, I should say. But no, come on down, just take a walk around the space, and I think you'll find it's quite a neat spot.
I'm excited. For one more question before I ask how people can follow you, because it just came to mind. How do you find your coaches and people that help you? Because I'm thinking maybe somebody around here would love to be a part and has the skills to be a mentor or a teacher or a coach, and they might want to connect with you. So how does that happen?
We always love connecting with folks that are passionate about sharing their skills with our aspiring innovators.
Yeah, because it's going to grow. You're going to need more people.
Yeah, for sure. So whether you're a teacher in the classroom that wants to be more creative and do some really neat things with 3D printing, game design, whatever the case is, or whether you're a college student.
JMU, Bridgewater
College,
EMU.
Eastern Mennonite University. So we have forged incredible partnerships with all of those higher education institutions. We most recently have been engaged almost for the past this school year, so this past fall and spring, the Theta Tau engineering fraternity does exceptional community service, and they have come in here and helped us with sorting, organizing, putting up shelves, sweeping, all kinds of stuff that I'm just so grateful for their assistance. And wouldn't you believe, I got to know them quite well, and there's a few in there that I thought would make amazing coaches and are actually going to be coaching this summer for us. So, just come on by, say hey. I mean, it's totally casual, but always love to have a conversation about that potential.
That's great. And then, how can the Laughers, my final question, follow you, the JuiceWorks 3D, and the Shenandoah Innovation on social media, website, and otherwise?
Thanks. Yeah. So we have our websites for each. So it's www.juiceworks3d.com and www.shenandoahinnovation.com. And the same on social media. So on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, it's at JuiceWorks3D. And same thing, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube is at Shenandoah Innovation. Of course, only being a month into Shenandoah Innovation, you won't find too much there, but we would appreciate your following so we can get to know you guys and, see what stuff you guys are up to. Of course, I mentioned the address of the space as well. Like I said, come on by and say hey.
New Monday through Friday hours?
Yeah, so Club, Innovator Academy Club runs Thursday and Friday from 3:30 to 6 p.m. So that's the best time to come in here. And then, of course, Shenandoah Innovation runs from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. And we're around, so you're welcome to drop in and say hello. Of course, we always appreciate advance notice. And we are getting ready to go into our busy summer season with the Innovation Academy for summer camps. So we will be here with students from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday to Friday, starting the week of June 23rd through August 4th. So don't come in during that time because it's going to be crazy.
It's also good, though. I'm excited about that. Well, thank you, Andrei, for sitting down with us today and sharing all things JuiceWorks 3D and now Shenandoah Innovation. It really has been a pleasure, and I learned a lot, too, and I enjoy spending time with you. So thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Don. Really appreciate you having me, and it was a pleasure getting to know you as well, and really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
You better believe it. And Laughers, thank you for tuning in today and spending your time with us. If you're listening, he just did a funny
wave into the
That's right. And if you enjoyed what you listened to today, please do like, share, tell a friend. This is an incredible podcast. It has helped me learn so much more about all the things that we have here in the Shenandoah Valley that you can do and see, and all the interesting people that have either transplanted here or from here. It's just a beautiful area. So if you want to know about all things non-hiking in the Shenandoah Valley, this is the podcast for you. And also don't forget that you can get that free audio book from Audible when you hit the link in the show notes. And then if you do a trial, you can actually help us grow this podcast so we can get more amazing content out there for you. And lastly, and most importantly, thanks for tuning in, Laughers. Out of all the podcasts out there, you picked us, and we think that's pretty darn special, just like you. Until next time, keep smiling, Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Virginia is for Laughers podcast, brought to you by the Funny Womack and Friends. We'll be dropping a new podcast every Wednesday, so check back for another uplifting episode. Come to a FWAF show or let us bring one to you. To find out more, head to thefunnywomacks.com. Be sure to share this podcast with a friend, and until next time, cheers.